You're tuned into the Unnecessary Harm podcast, where we drill down on issues of substance use and its cultural impact. Your host, Shane Varcoe, Executive Director of the Delgado Institute, with over 40 years' experience in youth and community work and a passion for building resilience.
Welcome to the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Great to have you with us, and if you're joining with us for the first time, great to have you on board. As always, we love new listeners, and of course for those regular subscribers, great to have you back, and thank you for your continuing support. Well, today's guest is a proud Indigenous woman who understands trauma all too well. She works on the front line of Aboriginal youth suicide prevention. As a result, Tina was an intensive care case manager working with at-risk Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander youth and families, but now focuses more on trauma counselling, which is very important. Not only is she a former Australian Defence Force member, but more importantly an author, keynote speaker and founder of Blue Butterfly Skye. Her autobiography, We Are Warriors, An Aboriginal Woman's Life, is a visceral, authentic and hope-filled account of her journey through trauma, healing, restoration and the life-strengthening lessons she has learned. Tina also leads the healing camps, programs that reconnect Aboriginal youth with their culture and identity as a suicide prevention strategy. Her approach is pure, from our perspective, is pure resilience building, prevention and demand reduction, and we love it. Imbuing strength and purpose before crisis and the all too often self-medication with substances happens. Tina Haywood, welcome to the Unnecessary Harm podcast.
Thank you, Shane. Much appreciated.
It's good to have you here. It really is. Just a little heads up for listeners before we start this, and there'll be an official disclaimer on our website. It's very important because it's great to talk about what we're going to talk about today, but just a heads up for our listeners before we start. Today's interview will entail the subject of suicide at different points, and we know that this is always a trigger issue for many people. So please pause this, if you're listening right now, pause this for a moment and consider if you should keep listening. It's very important. We want you to be okay. We really do. To both Tina and the Unnecessary Harm podcast. So be aware and please take care. Okay, Tina, let's kick off. Tell us about your mob. Where does your story, the Tina Haywood story, begin? And just launch us into that space.
Well, Shane, before we get into everything, I'd like to acknowledge the old people of this country, the First Nation mob. I'm very grateful for who I am. You know, I'm a proud Yupunguthi and Gungalita lady.
Perfect.
My father's from the top end of Queensland and my mum's from the Northern Territory. So I spread my life and my social emotional being knowledge across the two borders of Australia and also all around Australia with all different mobs too. So that's who I am and that's my identity of my culture. But I'm also a very proud woman of being a mum as well, for not only my children or the kids that I've had come through my home, through defence and also through my family. So that's who I am and that's where I'm from. So
well, I'm glad you said that. I was going to try to introduce that concept, but I just knew I'd butcher the wonderful names you just roll off. So that's why I'm glad you did that. So that's great, and that's a really important thing for our listeners to get. This is heritage. This is culture. This is it's immersive and very much a part of who you are and how you function and what you bring to the communities you work with. But tell us about your early beginnings. I mean, what was life like for you growing up?
Oh, my life was, to be honest, it had its happy and it had its horrific moments. We was always travelling from country to city to community, back home on country. My life wasn't a very pretty book. It was something that what growing up made me who I am today. I mean, I could have taken that road and continued that hurtful, that intergenerational trauma, but it made me turn around and have a look at what was affecting me in a different lens. I grew up with a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and a lot of envy, and my soul, my spirit was really screaming out for help. So it was a cry for help. And growing up and gaining my power back was how I give healing back to mob. And because I didn't understand what healing was when I was growing up,
Sure.
I just kept compacting it down with all the hurt and the pain with what I was seeing. So it was just monkey see, monkey do, and continue to do what I was doing, which I didn't know any better.
Sure.
Mm.
All of us are products to a certain extent of our environment. We were just talking recently with a colleague about this. Our perception, and it's an anthropological principle, that our perception of the real is constructed socially, and that's done through recency, frequency, proximity, and intensity. In simpler terms, whatever you're immersed in, whatever you're surrounded by, whatever you're subject to, is going to shape you. And our childhood, all of us in our lives, every single person on the planet, and we use this term with the Delgado Institute regularly, all of us start life as wheelbarrows. And a wheelbarrow is an empty and powerless vessel that's filled by someone else and pushed by someone else for the first 10 to 12 years of your life. That's a reality none of us escape. And of course, what that barrow is filled with and who's pushing it determines often the direction and the development of that life. And so sadly for a growing number of people globally, and not least in this country, our wheelbarrows are being filled with all sorts of things and pushed by some pretty nefarious characters. Not always our immediate family environment, of course. It can be other people that do that. But tell us, if you can, Tina, tell us, when it comes to the unraveling and the dysfunction, and you said the compounding and the monkey see, monkey do. That's just life. What were some of if you can, of course, if you can, I understand that, and we don't not here to draw things out you don't want to talk about at all, Tina. So that's important, and our listeners know that. This is a conversation about authentic connection and working through stuff. Does substances get involved in that space? So obviously this is our wheelhouse, but was that part of the equation, or is that not in the equation?
Shane, it was, because a lot of our mob in community, with pain, when we don't understand pain, we look for something to nurture us. And my family would find the bottle, and the bottle was more of a nurturing to numb the pain, which was really sad, because outside of that pain, there were amazing families without it. Would go fishing and hunting and would sit on the land and love of country, and would do a lot of our grounding and healing. But when we came back to the modern world, we were consuming alcohol more than we're consuming our own happiness. So when something would happen, they would, from my family members, I won't mention names, would consume a lot of alcohol, which was numbing their pain, and they would turn into somebody else that we didn't know. So they'd turn into a different person, and which would be so horrible, because the next day they'd wake up and didn't realise how much they would have hurt their own family. And it was just like, well, it's the demon that got you last night, and today you don't remember. We lived in a Christian community. Dumiji was a mission, and it was for the stolen generation. And, a lot of hurt and pain was in that community. And my father was one of them, for example, and everybody knew him. And I do still love him to this day, as much as he's passed on. He had some really amazing traits about him, and so did my elders. So my elders were my teachers, they were my followers, but every Sunday we would have Sunday school and we would learn. And there were these amazing people that would come into the communities and would teach us about healing. And you know what? We never knew about healing. We just knew about how to live off the land. But then when the alcohol came into our communities, it destroyed our mob. And I've seen it from families to families, and which tore us apart, because we didn't know any better. We just knew doing that would numb our pain and hurt, and think it would be gone, but it be just really was just killing our souls and our spirits, which we call, in a nutshell, for our culture, you're talking about our vessels. It's like those seashells, and you see the little crabs. walk on the beach.
Yes,
We
yes.
hide ourselves in that shell, but we call
Yep.
it empty shell when your spirit is not there anymore. So you
Beautiful.
walk around seeking validation, seeking understanding, and seeking guidance, but no one to lead you in that way. So that's where I saw the light, and listening to all these old people and those old pastors and that will come in, and I'm like, something's got to change. And
Wow.
that's, yeah, I see
Wow.
yeah.
Now, Tina, that's powerful, and I think this story not unique to your environment, and that's not in any way diminishing the grief and the sorrow and the hurt and the trauma that substances bring to communities, regardless of the culture. And I like the term that you used, which is a common term used in a lot of places, but it's lost a lot of the edge in the last 20 years. The term demon drink. It's interesting. That demon got you last night, and now it can be referred to cocaine or for ecstasy or weed, high-end THC weed, the same thing, or crystal meth, sadly. So this counterfeit that promises you relief only to bring greater harm. It's a powerful thing. It's a deception, and you can spiritualize it with the term demon. And I don't think that is a bridge too far. I think there's a lot of reality in that. And for those who are listening to us, who've experienced this, and they understand the spiritual side of substance use and the spiritual dynamic, are going, yeah, I get this. I've seen this. I understand this from the inside. But you're right. When there is a wound and we just numb the pain, don't address the wound, we just continue to reinfect. We reinfect. And your journey out is powerful. And we're going to talk about that later on, because we really want to not just talk about what breaks, because everywhere things break. But how do we fix that? How do we move forward and become your term, the whole people, the complete people, the restored people that we can be, and that's really important. So I like the fact that there's a narrative that came into your world that wasn't foreign. It's not, the Judeo-Christian worldview and the Creator's worldview are very, very much entwined, and to hear those truths and those principles released into your environment, you're going, well, this actually makes sense. The creator is interested in fixing the broken creation. So that's a very powerful insight. But you joined, I believe you spent about 9 years in the ADF. Is that right? And when did you join the ADF?
Oh,
and what was your role there?
2013.
13. Wow.
Yeah, I'll more to it. It's still to this day, still do Army Reserve. So 13 years of serving in the Army. I joined because I wanted changes. I joined because I wanted resilience. I joined because I wanted to have discipline of my family, of making them see I'm a cycle breaker. I joined because I had little people underneath me needing a leader.
Beautiful.
And I needed that stability and showing them, I am a good person. I just have to understand where I need to find myself, find that light. And even though I joined the Defence Force, it gave me a stepping stone. So I came in 2013 as a broken soul, looking, like I said, for guidance and understanding and directions. Gave me a lot of directions because it put me into that trauma counselling way. And a lot of us around me, everybody looked up to me as because I was the one that was a bit older with the babies. But doing Army, being an Indigenous liaison officer as well for mob in the Army, and a lot of people, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, but if people don't know who you are, like your culture when you travel overseas, we are many nations in Australia, which
Yeah,
we
indeed.
are.
Indeed.
We are. different tribes, different areas, different mob. You can't put us all in the same. We are many nations in one country that we love so much. But that's my journey in the army, was being Indigenous of liaison officer, not an officer, soldier, just to help mob. And then I was like, I've got more to do. I have more work to do. So that's why I became a trauma counsellor and started my own business. And then started the healing camps.
Yeah, we'll talk to that. I think that's important. That's good. That's where this has evolved. But I love this segue. I think it's really powerful. And again, the old adage, again, for those, I'm showing my age here. I've got a few decades on you. But the old school way of thinking, which again, like every dirty bathwater that we like to identify, usually has a baby in it somewhere, a very powerful baby. And one thing about the military space is, regardless of your views on army, war, defence, regardless of all that, let's put, if we can for a moment, listeners, put that aside, whether it's pro or anti. The bottom line is, when you're in a military setting, and you'll testify to this, Tina, clearly, but you have structure, very clear, immovable boundaries. And one of the things about a broken psyche or a damaged psyche that has its boundaries stripped away and has let in, for no necessary fault of their own, let in, for example, substances, the chaos that those elements bring to a life are just frightening. And trying to wrestle those back into order, just like herding cats. And the military goes, you know what, we're going to help you do that. And it's not just about coercive control. This is about structure, discipline, understanding why this is important. And it's not just about you getting your life right. It's you're working as a unit with other people. You're there for each other. You understand your mission. You understand your priorities. You understand what works and what doesn't work. And you understand what's not going to help you and how to keep that out. Those kind of principles, regardless of the context, if we could do that outside of the military, which we can, but we don't, this would be a great tool to help people recalibrate their lives. And secure welfare, and I'm going to digress here. Sorry, Tina, I'm going to have a little rant. The secure welfare sector in the prisons, we've argued for this forever. You don't need to decriminalise drugs to divert people. You can still have a criminalised process that's a coercive tool, no argument there, to put people into an environment that's structured, disciplined, and that can help them set right boundaries. It doesn't have to be jail, penitentiary, but it can be secure welfare. WA has done this really well with their prison system. They've got a whole unit of secure welfare. You can't leave, but it's not prison. It's there to help you exit drug use. And the people that go in there, the recidivism rate is almost non-existent. They get restored, they get clean, and I'm going to use that word specifically, and a lot of people don't like that, and they move forward in their lives and they become contributors. So again, I digress, but you've got the military structure. Again, the point being is secure welfare or military, or environments that create solid boundaries with good direction, good leadership, and understanding people, help people understand what works and what doesn't. All of a sudden people go, you know what? This makes sense. I can follow this. And now you are a contributor, and that's what's powerful. And not only have you, we're going to talk about what you do now and how this works in your space and with your mob and your clan, but also with other people is, your story, you coalesced all that around into a book in 2020 published called We Are Warriors, An Aboriginal Woman's Life. Now, it's always... I don't think people fully get how difficult it can be to do an autobiography, to put your stuff on the table. We all like our Facebook, our social media kind of things. We can put up our best images and our best stories. But when you talk about your journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly get brought into that. Tell us about, what was a catalyst for you to go, you know what, I need to put this in print. What was going on there?
Oh, God, that was, Shane, putting that story into, and I got 2 other books that come because the second one that leads to it calls The Hidden Wounds. And writing We Are Warriors was my own healing journey. I was too afraid to talk up about what was happening behind the scenes because you know what, as humans, like you said, we got Facebook, but who knows the real you? Who knows the mask, how you mask yourself? You put a mask on and you hide your pain. We all do. Everybody hides who they really are unless you really bring out the raw of you. And the resilience of writing that book was painful because I wrote a lot of home truths and I didn't care. And it was all about my healing journey. And you know what? The cycle breaker. It was then I said, stop. This hurting's got to stop. Because as much as I loved
Beautiful.
Dad, that hurting, he was hurting and he was hurting the people he loved the most. So you know what? When people take alcohol and drugs, yes, they're killing that demon, they're trying to numb it, but who they're affecting is the people they love the most. Yes, we go into that zone of like, you know what? I've got different personalities. I'm going to feed these personalities to make them feel better. But at the end of the day, you're that same person. How do you build that light up in that same person, throw it out the old and bring in the new? Because it's like a toolbox. When your tools get rusty, you need to get them out, don't you? Like when you see a big mahogany tree
Absolutely.
growing, the tree branches that fall off the old ones, you bring in the new. You replace it with the positive stuff in your life. So writing that book was a big turnaround for me, but painful, very painful,
I can
because it
imagine.
was
Yeah.
it was putting that 1% of positivity into my heart where I was just like, that makes sense. And it took 20 years because I said at the age of 15, I'm going to write a book and write about how my family, it wasn't dispowering my family. It was like, this is how the system had us and living, and how we lived on a reserve when we couldn't move anywhere. You had to be told and you was just a number. You had to go to school and you had to sit at the back, and you you are under a constitution. And like I said, I live in unity today. I don't see colour. I see people. I see hurt. I
Beautiful.
see understanding of how I'm going to put that 1% of positivity and that light back into them. And that's why that book helped me progress. And that nightmare, no lie, after I wrote that book, I had a lot of anger said towards me. And I said, hey, that's just your hurt because you're too afraid to face the music. Because I did a radio talk with ABC, and I got International Women's Day and an Aboriginal International Women's Day, and a lot of Indigenous were prone to be domestic violence. 40% more. 40 Indigenous women are more to be in hospitalised for domestic violence and alcohol and drug abuse. And it was really sad because I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I help this? How do you help it? You got to help from a young age. But then I had no one. So I thought, be that someone for everyone else, but you can help who you can only help because everybody has to help themselves, right? And I did, but I
You got to
had to
want to
look
be
in
helped. Yeah,
different,
you're right.
yeah, I had to look in different directions. I had to be gentle when my family asked me for support and help because no good putting anger back into anger is not going to resolve anything. And you can't burn your energy out. It's like, you fill your cup up and you get emptied, you got to keep filling it up, but you got to protect your energy as well, I always say. And you've got to look after your life. Otherwise, you're burnt out and you're no good to nobody. And I wanted to be that leader that one my babies can come to, my niece and nephews, my adopted kids to come to and say, I have a safe space. I got someone to talk to. I don't have to feel like I'm judged.
Yeah.
And that's why that book, people didn't understand it from my lens because because it's a different culture. But when you sit down in the room with me, then you understand. It's like, well, we're not so different after all. We're just humans. Yes, we got a
Correct.
different culture and
Correct.
different identity, but how do we maintain resilience? How do we build one another up? Because my colour doesn't matter. Who I am is the person inside that matters, that you got to look after.
Beautiful.
But yeah.
Absolutely. I love that, Tina. I think again, look, we're all culture. The argument has been said by anthropologists for millennia. Everyone's culture. What culture is a collective of eclectic ideas, concepts, whatever, or it can be a set of traditions and values that you adhere to. But we all create culture. But you're right. once you introduce things, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of the environments you may be immersed in, what happens when best practice, now this is the tricky one here, guys, when best practice is introduced into your space, can you recognize it or will you reject it? Now, who gets to determine best practice is really one of the powerful things here is outcome-based results. When you see, like you said, you bring light into dark places, things change. Light is one of the best disinfectants you can do. And what it does is also reveals, it kills germs, but it also reveals what's there and it can be identified. And that's the key. Light can absolutely frighten you because it does reveal what is there. And if you're hiding stuff, deliberately hiding stuff, that can be an undoing moment. But for most people who are broken, and we all know the history, hurting people hurt people, broken people stab people. We're not saying that's an excuse. It's just the nature. We're all got sharp bits and we bump into each other and we stab each other. But the point being here is that once you have that initial sense of I'm broken and I don't want to be broken. I don't want people to know I'm broken. I don't want people to know I'm hurting. I don't want people to know I'm failing. And those pride mechanisms, those harm defenders, because pride loves to defend harm. It loves to excuse itself. It loves to divert, to push off. But once you bring the light to that and say, hey, guys, we're not here to accuse and to malign and to put you down, but we are here to find out what is broken and what is best practice so that this doesn't have to remain broken. And that, what you just shared is your story. I found out what was broken. I am a cycle breaker. I am a circuit breaker. I'm stopping the breaking process and I'm bringing a healing process in now. So I'm not going to repeat the stabbing, the metaphorical stabbing of my broken bits bumping into everybody. I'm going to be healed so that when I bump into people, I bring healing. And
hey, before we continue, we want to highlight an excellent cousin podcast you should definitely check out. Pathways to Prevention with Dave Clausen. Dave brings incredible, proactive and protective insights that really complement the work we're doing here at UHP. That's pathway number 2, prevention. Make sure you subscribe and give it a listen. Now, back to UHP.
I just want to talk to you about your work with the Blue Butterfly Skye and the healing camps. Because the trauma, because now the intergenerational trauma is something that is a particular trauma space. I think that a lot of people don't get. I've worked with different trauma counsellors and different trauma settings, and the trauma can present in all sorts of ways. But the intergenerational trauma is something a lot of people who don't experience that or understand it get. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like, so our listeners who are not Indigenous can get a bit of a better handle on that, and also how you found that your healing camps evolve in that space and the effect and impact that's had, Tina.
Like, Shane, with some people too, like this one I didn't mention before, our wounds gonna resurface. That's why I read that other book. It's gonna resurface. How do you understand that pain, right? Are you gonna redo that pain? It's like rewinding a tape. Do you let it play forward or do you just listen to it and balance it out? So every time a hurt resurfaced, I sat up and looked at it and was like, okay, is this fixable or is it not fixable? Do I keep rewinding it and keep playing it over, or do I go forward and heal it? Because healing takes time. Healing is a forever thing with everybody. It's not an overnight job. It takes years. And with a lot of different people, everyone heals in different forms and ways, and like trauma comes in different ways. And it's like when we talk about domestic violence, when we talk about alcohol and other drugs, it comes in all shapes and forms, doesn't it? And it doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
Trauma doesn't discriminate.
Correct.
It's right there.
It does, and trauma and drugs don't see colour. They don't see colour.
Exactly.
They're an equal opportunity destroyer. That's what they are. Equal opportunity destroyer.
And it does. It drowns us until it kills us. And it's unfortunate. Then it leads to suicide, which it does happen a lot.
Yeah.
my healing camps? When the healing camps, it was from when the kids go into the justice systems, when everyone cries out for help, no matter who you are. But it's who hears your cries? Who hears your cries? No one ever heard my cry. The system heard my cry, and then they put me in different homes, and it didn't work. And I was like, how do I make something grow strongly on country? Sometimes you can't go back where the hurt is. You have to go away to be strong and then come back and heal the hurt. You can't go back in the
Yeah,
same
you
house where
can't
you've been.
heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't
You
heal in a
can't
place that
hurt
hurt
you.
you. You can't.
Yep.
Yeah,
At all. You got to go away. You have to go away and you build your resilience. You build your armor, your strength. You got to
beautiful.
put that big lot around you, and you got to, when you know you're right to go back in, then you know you have your armor and you're absolutely on top of the world to help everybody else. Well, when you don't, you can't do it because otherwise you're going to crumble and fall. It's like a Band-Aid. You can't keep putting a Band-Aid on a broken wound. So doing those
Beautiful.
healing camps helps kids. It's like, well, we're not going to do it here. We're going to go elsewhere. We're going to go on country. We're going to ask the traditional owners for the old people to let us be around that area. But even the landowners too, like, hey, we're going to do this here. Do you mind? And a lot of people are fear-based, like, no, they broken kids. They're going to break in and enter. But hello, these kids are screaming for help. One day it might be
Yeah,
your grandkids. It might be your bloodline. And you're going to come to me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help fix the solution, to help the solution. And different answers, different situation, different tools were put in. And everyone has a different, unique way. I'm unique. I'm a different person. I do things, you know what? Blue butterfly sky. You see the blue sky? A butterfly is a transformation, isn't it? And that's how I thought
correct.
of butterfly sky, the transformation of somebody's well-being, social emotional well-being, and also who they are. Because I'll guide them through that hurt journey, but I'll also help them make them feel better about themselves. But at the end of the day, meet me halfway. Meet me halfway and you become a
Beautiful.
better person for yourself and for your clan, for your family, for your partner, for your kids. Whoever you are, you're going to become that person. And the light always shines. But don't drown everybody coming up. Seek that help and get it. And that helps there. Yeah. Because it is. It's like a flooding river.
Yeah,
When you're trying to swim to
yeah,
shore and you see somebody else, you're going to pull them down, aren't you? It's like crabs in the bucket. We're all going to try to pull that person
yeah,
rising.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good story there. And
Crabs in
I
the
always
bucket.
tell,
Yeah,
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 yep, when one rising, people want to pull you down, but you have to. That's with families, with everybody. You have to let go of these people that are drowning you to rise. And if you know they've been toxic, and unfortunate families can be toxic, and when you release and let go, you can see the light coming towards you. And you know what? Strong boundaries is one good thing. Understanding, hey, I don't want to hear it. I'm doing this for me. You have to put yourself first, otherwise you're never going to win your race. And that's what it is for those kids. I'm the voice for them. I'm the one to help these kids and these people, families that are seeking clarity. Like my mum, she said, I just only knew that one way. And I said, oh, it broke my heart because my mum didn't have her mum around. Unfortunately, like I said, alcohol and drugs was always around my family, but alcohol was the biggest killer for my mob. And I seen it for a long time and I didn't understand it when they would just drown themselves. And it was sad because we're going from funeral to funeral and people didn't understand why these Indigenous mob having funerals after funerals. In a community, we all love one another and we all care because we've got that caring bond. And I thought,
yeah.
Blue Butterfly Skye having that caring heart, giving a place for the kids to have safe space, understanding, hey, I can be me here and I could let all these demons out from me, but go one day at a time, baby steps. It's not, you can't fix a wounded heel in a week. it takes time, but healing is forever.
That's outstanding, Tina. And I think that what I'm hearing, and I'm happy to be corrected, you're equipping people and empowering people to be restored. And restoration, as you said, is a process. When you renovate a house, from start to finish of the renovation, it's always a little bit messy, but it's getting better with each day, with each new day of application of the new stuff, of the better stuff, and the removal of the old stuff. It gets better. It's still a bit messy, and life gets messy. And I've had the privilege and the difficult privilege of working in juvenile justice in another life, going back a long time ago now, and and of course we saw both Indigenous and non-Indigenous kids in those settings. And when you got 14-year-old boys and girls who are just so shattered, and 99% of the time it's their broken environments, their family homes that were causing the problems. And those, we've talked about this before, and I'll digress for a moment, but for those who are aware of what we do, we harness a lot of the international understandings on this, but a thing called the 7 ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. There are 7 identified areas, and 3 of them, and neglect, abuse, and I can't remember the other one now. They're the 3 big ones. They're all factors that undermine children and unravel them. But substance use accelerates all of those, and it's in itself it is a ACE. So when you have alcohol and or other drugs in the family environment working actively to destroy families, that creates neglect, abuse, and just direct violence, and all those things compound. So that renovating that life takes a long time, and when someone's understood that and got out, it's really important. And I also want to highlight what you've done there, Tina, and this is something hard for a lot of people to hear, no matter what background you are. When a person steps away and steps up, this is not a selfish act of, I'm looking after number one, screw you. That's not the act. This is, I need to get right because I love you too much to leave you where you are. And if I don't go to a better place, I can't take you to that better place. So there is that disconnect for a season, and it's profound. And I like the idea of, I'm willing to go and sit in the mud with someone to help them get out. So I'm going to sit down with you a minute and say, you know what, guys, up there's no mud. Let's go. And the person says, I'm not going. Stay here with me. No, I'll come and visit you again. I'm going to build a ladder, and we're going to help you climb the ladder. We're going to get out of this mud, but I'm not going to live here with you because this isn't helping either of us, and I care too much about you to leave you where you are. Yep. And unfortunately, the culture today trades more with kindness than it does with love, and consequently we're seeing harms being perpetuated, not restored. So I just love what you're doing there, Tina. That's just awesome, and I want people to hear what Tina just said there again. I'm a cycle breaker. I want to help people grow, be restored, to be healed. I don't want them to stay broken any longer. And we can do this together. And the more people you help and they do the same, the greater the impact, and the army of warriors who can help others is just powerful, Tina. So with the intergenerational trauma, and I don't want to drill down to this too far if you don't want to go there, Tina, please. But I think this particular issue is unique to often Indigenous populations because of what they've experienced. Without going into the history of what kind of facilitates that, what is, in a simple way so people can understand it, what does intergenerational trauma look like, and how is it kind of unfurled and laid out in communities? How does that happen?
Like I said, you know how you got different clans, different communities, different areas. They have all different traumas. You got stolen generation, family that moved to another state due to hurt and pain. You got where they had the different lifestyles of living, like the stockman's life. I had it both with my family. from my mum's side, that intergenerational trauma was you do this one structural way and this is how we're going to live. Domestic cleaning, look after your husbands, clean, do this, do that. It was like that one line of way of, okay, we're going to get hidings today because we've done wrong and because we didn't do the work right. This is what happens. And we just got to lay in our bed and stay there. On the other side, if you didn't do your job, you'd get a lot of hurt and pain would come through that. And it came down to being moved about from families to families. And to listeners out there, this, if you don't want to listen to this might, some of these things may, I don't want to re-trigger other people, but there was a lot of,
Sure.
rape, molestation, and it was hush, hush. How do you stop this from happening with your own mob? How do you stop
Yep.
how do you stop that trauma? Because when my dad spoke up, he said, I was hurt at a young age of a 12-year-old losing my mum, and all I knew, we was moving from house to house because of the workload. So back in the day, it was all about old people, no matter where you come from. And you hear it is from different cultures too. So moving about, but different homes had different hurts, and they would get re-traumatized by being raped as young boys, molested, even the girls, and then they would have babies to people, and kids would run away. Like that movie Rabbit Proof Friends was a pure example of hurt. And the system, they thought they would fix it, but they were re-traumatizing. It's like, how do we fix it? So we don't put our kids in the same. If we see our families have our culture of happiness and not hurting, we don't re-traumatize our kids and put them back in. The system was trying to do that to help out, but it weren't happening. They would put them in re-traumatized homes, and what happened? Chaos and destructions and that's where that traumatized intergenerational trauma to happen. I'm going to talk about where I was in foster's home, and I met these old people that became my foster parents. They showed me so much love and understanding, and I'm like, well, I get that from mum and dad, but when the alcohol hits, I don't get it from them. But with these old people, I get a lot of love. How do I consume that love? Because it was rare to me. I thought you only get love when you're sober, not when you're drunk. So that intergenerational trauma was happening because it was just the same thing, same pattern. And you know what? It's like anything. You break that pattern. When you go on a footpath and you see they go route, you got to take another route in your life. And taking that other route in your life, it's breaking, like, wow, this is working for me. Then you take another route. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to go in a different direction. And that's exactly what I did. I took another route and I set a lot of strong boundaries, a lot of no, and stopped saying yes. Letting the same people the same people that broke you into your life. And those same people had to face their own demons as much as you had to, because it was all about masking your pain, and you can't keep masking it. So that's where I broke it, and that's where and it broke. For the both side cycle, being in my clan for Yupunguthi and Gungalita, they're like, wow, this girl has made a difference. And I had an auntie the other day say, Tina, how do we fix it? I said, we can't fix it. We have to put new tools into the toolbox. We have to make new things come about. We have to have a new structure, like we do in any job. New roles, it's a new role we have to bring into within mob. And you know what? When they start having that safe space and understanding, well, that role is going to work, and we know it works because you have a different lens, but you have a different tools. So your tools is the different people in your team that you build up in there. It's like you can't do this on your own. We're an army. We build everything together as one. And any workplace, we build everything together. And that's like with families.
No.
Okay, my kid's going to be around my strong, resilient family. Well, why don't we go over here? Well, you know what? I'm a truth teller. I tell it how it is. I don't muck around. I'm like, no, well, this is what happened, and no more bystanders too, because there's too many bystanders. No matter who you are, too many. Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
keep
brilliant.
re-traumatizing and let that kid keep going through it because I love that person. Well, that's not love. You're actually killing that person, to be honest. Yeah. So, yep, they're there. So
Brilliant.
that's
Look,
how I see it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm loving it. You got the different actors, and you've got new actors in your world that showed you love, and those actors didn't have the counterfeit in their life, like substances, that interfered with their capacity to love. And substance use, and this is kind of our wheelhouse. We all know this, guys. Substance use may increase the intensity of an emotion or a jolly, but that's it. It is an interrupter. It takes away from your humanity. It takes away from your ability to be there, to love properly, to care reasonably, to give fully. And that's where the substance use issue does so much damage. And you can't have good boundaries when you have boundary breaking wrecking balls like alcohol. It's a wrecking ball to boundaries. It just undoes them, shatters them. And then the bystander, I love the bystander comment. It's like I'm going to be kind and say nothing and do nothing, and because when you say something you can be called out for, oh, you're being harsh. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth in love, because this is not working. We've perpetuated the silence, and the harms are just multiplying. And with each harm is another story, as you said before. The tape, the recording, it's another recording of harm that you keep playing.
And the blame everybody, but don't fix the problem. Don't be the blamer. Blame everybody
Correct.
else. Hey, what have you done to fix this solution? Nothing. No blame.
Perfect.
The blaming game is always there, and it happens everywhere. I see it all over social media. All the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you got this because your mum gave you this and this. Well, hey, hang on. Don't go blaming that kid because she's got a good life. That parent saw that kid,
Yeah.
wanted to give that kid a good life because that parent went through something that they didn't want to go through again. And Shane, I'm going to let the listeners know, I was such a broken girl, and reason why I became a suicide intervention worker and trauma counsellor, because I'm a survivor to it. I'm a survivor to, never was drugs, but
Wow.
alcohol. I'm a survivor because I wanted to numb my pain, because I was sexually abused as well. And I was so scared in the world. I would never want another young person or anyone around me go through that pain. And I had no one to be my guardian angel. I had no one to be my purple, my yellow, my rainbows to be there for me. And it's why I have the most loving heart, because once upon a time I wasn't. This Tina took a lot of Tina to work. This Tina had a lot of different personalities to fix up, but I nurtured every single one of those personalities and heard within myself to make who I am today. Because 20 years ago, you wouldn't know. That's not who I. People know the old version of me, but they don't know the new version of me. And that's how it's like when you read a new book. It's like, wow, this is amazing. I don't want to put it down. It's like your chapter in your life is how you make it, and it's who you become. And
Beautiful.
when I see my children rising, and that's all my adopted kids and the kids around me, it's like, wow, you done this. I just guided you, and I
Yeah.
love to see you shine. And you know what? We're not around forever. Being that leader for that escape, for them to go out and become who they want to be, is amazing. Because we're the mums in our families, us ones, the eldest ones. We do everything to help our mums and dads, and we try to fix everything. But you know what? We're only human. We're doing the
Of
best
course.
to their ability. We are, and that reward of self-care, self-love, self-nurturing is loving. My kid's like, why you want to do that? I'm like, because it's called self-love. Yes, you know what? We're not perfect, but at the end of the day, we're human. And like I said, that light, that sky of light, that happiness, that makes me smile every day. So this is my story, and this is who I am.
Beautiful. Beautiful. No, look, and I love it, and I think there again, you hear the refrain here, listeners. You hear the refrain. This is all about circuit breaking, cycle breaking. This is all about bringing in new ingredients and keeping out the stuff that is just wrecked the recipe in the first place. Keeping that out. And Tina's done that. I really encourage you to get hold of her book, both her book. Well, there's a couple there, but the We Are Warriors, Aboriginal Woman's Life, and of course, tap into Tina's experiences, not just if you're an Indigenous Australian, if
For
you're
everybody.
anybody who's experienced trauma and anybody who's experienced, particularly at the hands of substance use. Well, substance use was the major driver in your environment of harm and of trauma, then this is going to be incredibly helpful. And a lot of the stuff you've heard today, it's not new wisdom. It's actually old wisdom. It's been there a long, long time, but it's being revisited and reharnessed and retasked to do what it's always intended to do, bring wholeness, to bring us back to that which we were created to be in the first place, whole and complete human beings. Tina, I'm going to ask you one last question. We ask about 90% of our guests this one, and I think I know what your answer will be. I think because you're playing both spaces. But which is it fence at the top of the cliff, or is it the ambulance at the bottom, or is it both when it comes to dealing with broken lives?
It's both. It's both, because when they come from the ambulance to up the top is how do you do it? And like I said, where there's intergenerational trauma, and this is a good one, there comes intergenerational wisdom and healing on top
Beautiful.
too. And that's where it ends. You either take it or you don't take it. At the end of the day, you're the driver of your driver's seat, and you drive to where you take your life. And, look at around the world, all these people that came from broken home, like Oprah Winfrey and everybody else around us. Look at them, successful, but it's all about how they fix their healing. And it's with our strong mob and communities, and people are all around the world, no matter who you are, is how you fix yourself. And so when you rise, you start seeing good things come into your life. And it's like, wow, and we get blindfolded for a long time, but once that mask is taken off, you start seeing the light. And that's where you start seeing new good things. Because you know what? That positive start flowing through your life, like, oh my goodness, this is happening for real. And I'm going to put a little story, like I hugged my big daughter yesterday. She's 6 foot, to me, she's 6'3". I'm 5'7". And she's like,
Wow.
yes, Mum. I'm like, oh my God, Grace, I got this podcast. I'm so excited. She hugged and she looked at me. It's so funny because I'm like this little kid looking up at her. But, when I look at my kids, they are my inspiration. And because they have that beautiful soul, and it's because of someone like me giving all my kids that love, that, and the kids that come to my camps, and the people that come and reach out. And I had a organisation like, we really need you because I said, you know why? It's because when you bring uniqueness in and the different strategies and different lens, it makes it work. And I'll show you how to work, because it's all about empowerment and happiness. And you know what? You change things
Perfect.
around. Yeah. Thank you, Shane.
Perfect. No, look, this is great. And I'm going to say, this is the first time I've ever said this, Tina, so that's an inspiration from you. We need to train more ambulance drivers to be fence builders. Sure, you need to drive an ambulance to pick up the broken, and then train them to build the fences at the top so they don't have to drive the ambulances anymore.
That's exactly right.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Tina Haywood, it's been an absolute joy having you on the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Thank you for joining us. Encourage, again, the listeners to get hold of her resources, tap into it, regardless of whether you're Indigenous Australian or not. Just tap in, listen, revisit the principles, apply them. And for the first time, many of you will go, oh, this is rubbish. I've heard all this before. No. Just revisit this again. Sit down, take out your confirmation virus, and just go, how can I learn from this today? But until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. And please, not just stay away from unnecessary harm. Don't be part of it. And if you're a bystander, stop being a bystander and make a difference. Until then, see ya.
As we wrap up today's session, remember, each step towards understanding is a step away from unnecessary harm. We're here to empower, inspire, and pave the way for optimal well-being. Stay resilient, stay informed, and continue being the change your community needs. Thank you for joining us at the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Until next time, take care and keep pushing forward.